The Tohono O'odham have lived in what we now call the Sonoran Desert since time immemorial. Their traditional lands stretch from the Gila River to the north down to the Sonoran River in the south, as far east as the San Pedro River, and west all the way to the Gulf of California.
Prior to 1900s, there was a steady flow of water in the Santa Cruz. It was something that was used on a daily basis, something in terms of a resource. With us being taught and told by our Creator to always be in tune and pay attention to the environment, pay attention to the landscape, your surroundings, we began to notice that the flow of the Santa Cruz River started to change, and meaning that it decreased. And that was because you had the city of Tucson growing. You had non-O'odham farmers, living close proximity. And even also you see that with the Sarco mine. Same thing, they started to pump and take to the point where there was no longer an Ariakamel, which is what we call the Santa Cruz River.
As a desert people, water is sacred to the Tohono O'odham. It is well known that anywhere in the world, water is vital to life. But in the dry Sonoran Desert, water is so scarce that it must be deliberately shared in order to maintain life. The ecology of the Sonoran Desert coexists by this principle, as do the Tohono O'odham.
The indigenous people are universally natural people of the natural world. And the water is also of the natural world. We do not separate ourselves from these elements.
Today, the Tohono O'odham lands are bisected by the border between two countries, both of which are on stolen and occupied O'odham land. While neither of these countries have ever had the permission of the Tohono O'odham people to occupy and desecrate these lands and their waters, still these forces persist, enforcing their laws, customs, mining, water theft, and pollution. One of the recent harms that has been enacted on the Tohono O'odham and the land they are spiritually and ancestrally tied to is the building of an environmentally devastating wall through their land. This wall separates those of the O'odham Nation in the north and south from each other, dividing families and communities and keeping O'odham people from sacred sites. In the center of Tohono O'odham lands, there is a sacred spring called Quitobaquito, a place of ceremony and a water source that was used by human and non-human travelers as they migrated in the ways their people have done for far longer than these lands have been under occupation.
My name is Amber Ortega, and my father is the late Melvin Ortega. We are both members of the Tohono O'odham Nation, as well as descendants of Hiachidatam. I grew up on the Tohono O'odham Reservation, the fourth village from the border.
I am Hiachidatam, Sonora O'odham, and Tohono O'odham. My family lived here. My grandfather lived here. They have orchards here, but our orchards went clear into what is Mexico now. There was no border there.
The fence that they're putting in is trying to divide us, and yet you can't divide family. You can't divide culture.
My great-great-grandfather's buried there. I have other family members that are buried there. And my grandfather always told me, don't ever forget where you came from.
Why did all of a sudden, when the fence started coming nearer and nearer, and you have blasting, and then They have to dig every 5 miles to pull water out so they can do their cement. They're telling us it has no effect whatsoever. But why in the short period of time when they started from that hill did this happen here?
On September 9th of 2020, construction was reaching the spring. My heart was pounding, and I saw that they were attempting to cut through the land.
No more! No more! No more! No more!
And we couldn't have them do that. I stood there singing. That's all I could do was sing as they yelled and they encroached. Accountability was a goal, and I knew that there will be consequences. And whether the charges be dismissed or not, it does feel good to say that for that day we were able to hold them accountable and stop construction. That day we were able to stop the desecration of our sacred site. That day we were able to utilize our voices and speak up against imperialism and against authority, against greed, against power. That day we were able to be here at Chidatam, and it felt so good.
Tohono O'odham haicho purta. Oma kaur mahama pchoi como stohumut kam tasba pchomut. Mutta kai ko pitcho. Como ha chum tacho haicho opa. Mutta hava sasi como tohut. No pewus humut kam pcho. Ja, timi a pehim. Temo po ai up. Mutta po chum istnah ko up.
In September of 2020, the construction of the wall between the two countries that had divided the Tohono O'odham lands was approaching the Quitobaquito Springs, and that summer, the pond had turned to mud flats as its level sank to a record low. Despite carelessness and overuse, Quitobaquito Springs still flows and the pond now has water again. However, just like the resilient Tohono O'odham, it is forever changed. The border wall lies just 100 meters away, and the wildlife and humans that depend on the oasis are subjected to floodlights, border patrol vehicles, the noise of international conflict, and they are cut off from traditional migratory routes. The Tohono O'odham Nation has faced much injustice in the roughly 400 years since Spanish and European colonizers began settling in their lands. Through each and every hardship, the Tohono O'odham have done their best to maintain their ways of life, their culture, their language, their foods, and their spiritual practices.
We are the bulldozed and violated land as well. We are the cactus displaced far from its home. We are the turtle that has come out of shell to face. We are the water missing home